Hello and welcome everybody to Integrated STEM Teaching course for primary school teachers, TeachMeet. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. With us we have 4 teachers from our primary course. We have Svetla, we have Gabriela, Michael and Anna. They will share with us today their experience in implementing integrated STEM teaching in their teaching practice. Before I give the floor to Svetla, I would like to remind everyone that we have open chat where you can post your questions. If you have any specific questions for our presenters today, please feel free to share them in the chat and we will do our best to answer at least a few of them in the end. So without further ado, I would like to invite Svetla now to first introduce herself and share her best teaching practices.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Svetla. I come from Bulgaria. Currently, I teach computational thinking at a private elementary school, Maple Bear in Sofia. And the title of my presentation while I'm teaching young learners is that coding is the new literacy nowadays. While I teach, as I said, 9 years olds to programming and to patterns of thinking that enable them to combine their creativity and their decision making, it is obviously coding unplugged. This method is easy to implement in class without any specific technology or sophisticated means, technical means, or even internet access. Instead, they often contain just visuals, printable materials, or board game-like cards. Also, in these methods, the very important part is the collaboration. This allows students to think about computer science and understand the principles of coding while being, in fact, away from the computer. Although it is unplugged coding, the 4 main principles for coding are also applied here. As the first one on the left-hand side on your screen, it is the decomposition. This stands for breaking down a problem into smaller tasks, closely followed by pattern recognition, which was this activity similar to something else in our lives so far. Abstraction, which is what information is important and what information is not important. And finally, design the algorithm. It is to create a set of instructions or simply a series of steps. In my teaching practice, I apply this unplugged coding following the 4 phases of coding, and 2 of my lessons are based on designing an algorithm for getting dressed. This is what the young learners aged 5 up to 9 years old are about to do as a task during 2 lessons out of 40 minutes each. It is having students working together in pairs or in small groups to develop a set of steps and explain how they get dressed in the morning for school, if it is a weekday. This may be written instructions depending on the age of the students. If 5 or 6 years old, normally this could be a sequence of pictures, which they to arrange in the proper way. After that, immediately is followed by gathering students as a whole class and having groups and pairs share the steps that they have created. It is very important at this point of the lesson to encourage students to notice similarities and differences between the instructions of the separate groups. This first lesson could be followed by another lesson which I named Mr. and Mrs. Dress Up, or if there is a change in the climate, how this could influence the algorithm that they create. What I do is to introduce first the picture on your left on the screen, which is the young boy in a snowy day just wearing a t-shirt and shorts, and asking students what do they think about the picture, whether it's proper or not, and then immediately that followed by the task to design an algorithm for dressing up. At this point, it's good to remember that the activity has to be paused for a moment. If the students start writing the algorithm or arranging pictures for this and using what they can see in the picture as it is the t-shirt and the shorts and the socks. And then start a discussion what clothes are worn in cold climates, etc. And then it comes picture number 2, which is on your right, when the proper clothes have been worn for the day. These instructions and these 2 lessons are based on life events, everyday life events. It could be brushing your teeth, getting ready for school, or just getting dressed for school. Also, some extensions could be offered, like introduce specialized clothing for sports, or to give a historical perspective, like history classes or even geography classes. This same activity also allows, in case students are age 8, 9 years old, it allows or provides the opportunity to write algorithms using conditions. This is the if-then statements, which result in different actions depending whether the condition is true or false. And while it is unplugged coding, a conditional statement for getting dressed might be if you are getting for your school uniform, and if it is hot, you wear this, you put shorts. If it is not cold, you wear other things. Last but not least, I would like to list here, to mention, it is the collaborative work with a colleague from Turkey who teaches physical education. And we are in the process of preparing this joint and shared 2 lessons with him, using this unplugged coding and everyday life activities. Based on this, while students have already showing some interest and some knowledge in this designing an algorithm based on everyday life events and activities. What he has designed, or he is in process of designing, is an obstacle track algorithm during his classes in physical education. It is using codes for each obstacle that student can create, and to build a fun and active obstacle course to follow. Which is more interesting, the whole procedure is completed in such a way, or at least my colleague from Turkey started designing the lesson, which is a great idea and I appreciate it, started designing the lesson like in these times of uncertainty, and that teaching in most of the countries is online at the moment. So having these activities for the students at home, which is absolutely brilliant idea, and I think I will shortly follow up with this idea. That's it about the idea and the unplugged coding for very, very young learners.
That's great. Thank you, Svetla, very much. That was very interesting and a very good example of combining non-science subjects such as PE, physical education, with coding. Also, we have had many requests from our participants about maybe preschool students, how to implement activities. And I think what you mentioned in the beginning, how to do the coding activity with images can, indeed lend itself nicely.
Exactly, yes.
Excellent. Thank you very much for sharing. So, a reminder again, if you have any questions for Svetla for activities that she shared with you, please post them in the chat. And before we move on to Gabriela, I would just like to clarify. It seems like some of you had issues joining this live event. It seems like some of you had issues logging in. I would just like to remind you, as it was written in the instructions, it's not necessarily that you have to be logged in to join live event as a participant. If you join anonymously, that is completely fine. We are happy to welcome you in any case. So that is just a reminder there. So I think now we are ready to continue with our presenters today. Gabriela, please, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you for floor right now. So at first, I would like to thank all the people who are behind these marvelous MOOC, because you've done a great work to prepare everything for us ordinary teachers to take inspiration from. And also thank you very much for letting me present my own learning scenario here among all you great teachers who are really active and very passionate to start their own learning scenario for their students. So as you can see, my name is Gabriela Krizovska, and I have been teaching English and ICT at primary school in Slovakia for more than 20 years. I got a great chance to be involved in pilot project of natural-based solution, and that is how all my learning scenarios started. Today, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my learning scenario, Greta. As you can see, those letters are just abbreviation of Green Relevant Environment to All. And I'm sure it meets the requirements of integrated STEM teaching for primary students, because it combines STEM and CLIL approaches together. So the climate change activist Greta Thunberg is an influencer of today's teenage generation. I know some people might have contrary feelings about her, and that was considered to be a big advantage to my learning scenario. I wanted my students to express their thoughts and motivate them that everyone is able to do any changes in our environment. What aspects of her presentation, Nature Now, makes her a role model of learning about natural-based solution, where only by a small help from all of us, the environment can recover and gain its power back. By using students' critical thinking, they are going to discover more about the destructions of our environment and use self-study methods to find a way to help. So we can, actually, conversational activities and in-personal activities in CLIL are the most important to help students develop the ability to listen and speak about the STEM subject and use subject-specific vocabulary, at least but not last, also the grammatical structures to help them to learn foreign language they are supposed to learn. We work with the video footage and did activities to understand the message that had been delivered by Greta's presentation. We kept the saying in mind that think local and work global or act global, and we started the campaign to support the idea of recovering the nature itself by doing a small research on OPLA repository. Their students were confronted by examples of natural-based solution. The main purpose of the campaign is to be active and influence more people to take action on climate changes. The campaign aims to teach students not only about ecology, but also encourage them to protest in no violent ways and see multiple aspects of their impact through the posters they elaborated, as the integration of Greta's message, example of recovery, and their attitude to ecology. As you might see, we use Canva, a portal, to elaborate digital posters to start campaign with by sending them through different media channels to support our campaign. What I like most about my learning scenario is that it was meant to be used in English lesson with an emphasis on content and language integrated learning methods of teaching together with science, ICT, and art as cross-curriculum approaches. We all know, because we are teachers, that teaching is a wider mixture of all competencies we want our students to obtain in the process of lifelong learning. The implementation of STEM subjects like natural conversation, planet Earth, environmental education, biology has found its place in these learning scenarios. I highly recommend these 6 thinking heads approaches as students can adjust to different roles in the course of discussion. All of them express their attitudes and thoughts and ideas to campaign depending on the color of the hat they have chosen. As you see, we had to work together in the time of pandemic closure, so that they used Padlet to state their thoughts online collaboratively, and they liked the new challenge a lot. As you can see, they just were adapted to different colors and to express their thoughts and ideas depending on what color they were wearing. So as you can see in this another slide, I have just made a photo of them discussing the problematic. And so although they are only 13 years old, they work online the very first time in their life, and all was new for them, but their feedback from this online practice was great, and we wrapped all in one ebook with all the posters, all lesson plans, some extra material we found on British Council support for teachers, and you are free to have a look in the genuine outcome of their work on JUMEC. As you can see on the right side, there is the cover of the e-journal or the ebook that is full of very good ideas, and also the lesson plan is there, so you can just feel free to open and to go for more inspiration there. And what more, this learning scenario has proved its quality in creativity, innovation, critical thinking, and problem-solving approaches, effective communication, ICT literacy, STEM learning, lifelong learning, and social media learning. And yesterday, this learning scenario was officially published in Scientific repository, and you can go there and grab it for your own use, or maybe it will be a good resource for a new e-twinning project for this school year, because the topic of ecology and environmental problems is always very trendy in e-twinning projects. So as I said, all doors are open for teachers to enter. And so thank you very much for your attention. You were really great audience, very quiet audience. And so if you have any questions, so as it was said, so at the end of this meeting, so you can just address to me and ask any questions you want. Just don't hesitate to ask me. And if you want to see the learning scenario, all these things is there posted in Scientific repository. So all the details about it might be found there. So it's just material that you can just get and take it to your classroom and just adapt it to your needs, just needs of your students. Thank you very much for this stage for me. I was glad to present my learning scenario.
Thank you very much, Gabriela. Well, first of all, thank you for the kind words you expressed towards the STEAMET course team. I think I'm speaking here for Evita and Eleni, who are here as well in the background. Thank you for the kind words. We are happy you're enjoying the course. We hope that all the rest of the participants are enjoying the course and find it useful. And we are doing our best to support our teachers, and we will continue to do our best, especially I think in this, as they are often referred, unprecedented times. We are doing our best to support you. So thank you for the kind words, and thank you very much for your presentation. Indeed, it was very interesting. You shared a lot of very useful resources. So then I would also like to point out that both the recording and the slides from this TeachMeet will be available tomorrow. If you go back to the live section page or to the TeachMeet page in the course, you can find the recording and the presentation, so you can once again go through all the available through the resources that were mentioned during this TeachMeet. I would also like to point out that it's very nice to see how you've taken something that I believe a lot of teachers are familiar with, like a 6-hat scenario, and you turn it into remote teaching class. So here is another idea how to implement different activities that maybe you are already familiar with, how you can turn them easily to an online class.
Yeah, now after doing that, I'm a little bit experienced, but at first it was pretty difficult to adjust everything for online teaching, because it was also for me the first time to deliver my lesson online. But I'm really looking forward to produce another scenario. So in this course, I'm going to as well have one new scenario ready for assessment. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah. And as you already mentioned, your learning scenario is already available in Scientix, so make sure to check that out. Before we proceed with our next presenter, there are a few comments that were addressed to Svetla. Some of our participants said that they find it very interesting and motivating, your activities, and that it was a very STEM suitable activity, the coding, which I found was very interesting. All right, keep the comments coming, keep the questions coming, and I think now we are ready for our next presenter. And I would also like to ask participants who are watching this to get ready to get on the action with our next presenter. Michael, please go ahead.
Excellent. Thank you for the introduction. And I'd like to echo what Gabriela said, thanking you for this wonderful course, and more generally, the community of teachers. It's great to see something like this going on, and great to be amongst you. So I'm really happy to be here. So my name is Michael Gregory, and I'm the coordinator of science programs for gifted kids at the École Jeanine Manuel in Paris, France. I've founded a project I call My Favorite Experiments, and something I call virtual science camps, which was a way to get kids doing hands-on science during the lockdown, and a way to invite students and teachers from all around the world to join in. So far, we've been joined by people from 12 different countries. Hopefully the list will keep growing. Hopefully some of you will want to join in. To explain what we're going to do, rather than just talk about it, I'm going to have you guys actively participate. So I'm going to ask you to attempt to gather a couple of materials from around the home. If you need to leave the room to get this, feel free to ignore the next 30 seconds to a minute of what I say. Trust me, doing things are more interesting than listening to things. So the simple materials I hope most of you will have on hand: a pen, some paper, a water bottle, a cup, and optionally a paper clip. Hopefully I'll get to that part at the end. While you're off gathering that material, for anyone who's still here or who had it handy right away, I'm going to take about 30 seconds to tell you about My Favorite Experiments. So it's a project that goes on the idea. Oh, and Eleni, can we switch to the next slide? Perfect, thank you. Yeah, that slide 3, My Favorite Experiments, if possible. Yes. Okay, so science is universal, but there's great diversity in how it's taught around the world. So I've been fortunate enough to have grown up in Canada and now been 12 years in France teaching, taught briefly in the UK as well. And it always struck me as interesting how the way people teach science and the experiments they used was different from country to country. And so in 2017, I took the time to go back to Canada, bike across my home country, asking teachers in different regions of the country to share their favorite experiments with me. It worked great, and when I got back to Paris, I decided to do the same thing in Europe, and I ended up biking across 20 different countries in Europe, asking teachers in each of them to share some of their favorite experiments with me. Since then, my main focus has been sharing experiments forwards. I'm always actively looking for more experiments as well. But some of the main ways I've done this is with volunteer teacher training, teacher in residence positions, a science outreach group at my school I call Yes for Young Enthusiastic Scientists, and my YouTube channel. You'll see at the bottom of the screen on the left, there's a screenshot of my YouTube channel. And at the right, this is actually an event that happened last Thursday and Friday in Ghana, in West Africa, with a group of teachers in training, like university students becoming science teachers, who I call my ambassadors. And they're ones I've trained. They're with laptops you see in the pictures that were donated by my school community, and with students we work to reformat them with offline capable educational software. Hopefully that's been long enough for most of you to gather some materials. So I'm going to ask Eleni to switch the camera to focus on me. So I'm going to talk you through some really simple experiments with materials you were hopefully able to gather there in the past 30 seconds to a minute. So if possible, it'd be great if we can get the focus on me rather than my slides. And I want everyone to take their pen and their paper. And hopefully you're not expecting I'm asking you to write. That's such a boring use of these materials, and most teachers don't live to their full potential. If you're really into science, you should be looking at objects around you and thinking, STEAM is everywhere. Wouldn't that be a great name for a MOOC as well? Anyways, we're not going to write with it. I want you to take the pen apart and fold the piece of paper in half. So you have some paper and a pen. And I want you to sandwich the parts of a pen. So you should have like two tube-like parts of a pen. And I might switch these for straws, because straws work better, but more people have pens than straws. And I'm rubbing the two together. And I want you to try and follow along at home doing this. If you've taught electrostatics, you might be expecting that I'll be adding a charge to these. And we're going to bring in the water bottle. So simple material number 3. And as long as the humidity hasn't built up, I should be able to demonstrate electrostatic repulsion. And hopefully at least some of you are doing this at home. So why does this happen? They've both gotten the same charge from the paper. Like charges repel, so one repels the other away if it stays on the bottle. But if they got a charge, the opposite charge should be on the paper. So the paper, if I remember what part of it was rubbed against the pen, should be able to attract it. And we're looking at attraction of like charges. Now, something that's not immediately obvious to most students, and indeed to a large number of teachers, if I take my hands, I haven't added any charge to my hand, and if I bring it near the charged straw, I want everyone to make a prediction. Feel free to throw it in the chat. If not, just like keep it in your head. When I bring my hand close to the straw, will it attract it and pull it near, repel it, pushing it away, or do absolutely nothing? Now I'm going to bring my hand close, and we can see it's attracting this straw. But my hands weren't charged, so that's a demonstration of electrostatic induction. If this were a longer presentation, I would have led you through it a little bit more and gone into a bit more detail, but hopefully most of you are okay with that demonstrating induction. If not, please ask for more experiments in the question and answer period, then I can hog more time going through a couple of more experiments. But just remember, induction is always an attractive force. Okay, next simple experiment. Using a cup or water glass, same bottle of water as before, I'm going to fill the cup about halfway full. And you'll notice, and again, this will be much more interesting if you're actually doing it at home, so you're seeing it for yourself, because you might think, oh, maybe I have a special pen, a special glass, something like that. And I'm going to try and put the bottle cap in the middle. And when I let it go, after a couple of seconds, it's always going to go to one side or another. So the challenge I want you to figure out is, what can I do to get the bottle cap to float in the middle and not stick to one of the sides? If this were a full camp, I'd get you to give me answers and we'd discuss, but I'm just going to skip to the answer so I don't take too much time here. And what I'm going to do is just fill the glass more full, hopefully not sinking the cap while I'm at it. And I'm going to fill the cup up to the top, but is that as full as we can fill the cup? Maybe not. Let's try adding a bit more water. And we can see I can actually fill it fuller than the top, and the cap goes to the middle. It should stay in the middle if there's enough water. Again, this is a demonstration of some of the properties of water that come from it being a polar molecule. Adhesion is the force of water sticking to other surfaces. It sticks to the side of the glass, so we get a meniscus that's curved upwards. And the bottle cap floating to the highest point will float to the side unless we've overfilled the glass and the meniscus goes over the top and the highest point is now right in the middle. Now, to bring these two demonstrations together in one final go, I'm going to again charge up the pen and demonstrate the attractive force of induction. Induction is always an attractive force, always looks good. And then I'm going to take the cap out, lower the level just slightly, and carefully set a paper clip. Remember, I said this is optional because this might not work for me the first go. So if it doesn't work, we'll just give up on it. Okay, and I'm floating the paper clip on top of the water. If you haven't seen that already, it's a good demo of surface tension. Now I'm going to bring the charged pen near it again, and I'm going to charge it a little bit more. Now remember what I said about induction. Induction is always an attractive force. Bring the pen near the paper clip, and it's chasing it away. Now this is a lot of fun if you actually did do this at home, and if you didn't take the time to gather the materials now, I strongly recommend you do it after the session. Because this is really a fun thing to play around with, and you'll see it's pushing it away. So that's something that doesn't immediately make sense. I was confused for the first at least 5-10 minutes after I first was shown this. I'm not going to give you the answer to that. I'm going to leave you with a little bit of cognitive dissonance, because that's a good learning tool to get you thinking about something you're confused about for a while. If you still don't have an answer, or if you do have an answer, please bring it up in the question period. Now we're going to go back to my slides to tell you about some of the implications of this for an integrated STEAM lesson. So first of all, the electrostatic repulsion on top of a bottle using a pen, I first saw demonstrated by a student. And that was an example of a learning, missing my vocabulary, a learning product, right? Okay, it was a new word for me during the course, so I didn't fully get it. Oh, and Eleni, can we go to the next slide when you're able to? Okay, so the straw trick was a learning product when I had assigned students to surprise me or teach something new about electrostatics. And they were assigned for 5 points on originality, 5 on the science, relevance to the curriculum. But aside from any markers, being able to tell this student a year later, hey, I just tried out your straw trick, and I managed to teach a class full of kids on the other side of the world about static electricity thanks to you. That was a much more meaningful evaluation than in any grade he could possibly. Relating all this to a big overarching integrated STEM lesson plan, there's a great idea that came up with some of my students again, that were doing a project on plastics, and this is able to tag onto that and actually bring an extracurricular activity back into the classroom, because they were looking at plastic awareness, and bringing in the idea of doing different experiments, it was able to get into their life sciences and physical sciences course in terms of material science, because as you might notice, not only are most of the materials I used for this common things from around the house, they're also including a lot of things that we'd consider single-use plastic, like a plastic pen. Most people, when it runs out of ink, they throw it out. It's still got tons of life for science experiments. Same thing with a plastic bottle. So it's great to tie into that. Now I'm going to switch to my last slide, which is an invitation to all of you. My virtual science camps, now that France has gone back into a new lockdown period, it is quite a bummer, but the one good thing to come out of the lockdown in the spring was that I came up with these virtual science camps as a way to introduce students from Paris to other students and teachers around the world who want to join. I'm running these camps for free twice a week, starting this Saturday. Anyone can join. A lot of times teachers join for ideas for experiments they can do with their own students, so don't worry if you're not interested in having your students along. If your students want to join, even better. There's a couple of links there if you want more information about the project. tinyurl/virtual science camps for like the welcome page for that. There's my YouTube channel, my favorite experiments, or email me if you have any questions. I hope to see some of you guys at the camps and to see you guys around the course a little bit more. Thank you for your attention, and thanks again to Jelena and Eleni for organizing this and having me on.
Thank you, Michael. This was very interesting and very entertaining. While you were performing your experiments, the chat was very quiet, so I believe everybody behind the screens joined as well, as they didn't type, and it seems like they were too busy, sorry, to type. Yeah, this was very interesting. I would also like to thank you as well for the kind words about our MOOC. As you mentioned, more than anything, we're really trying to create a community here. So thanks to teachers such as yourself and everybody who joined us today, either as a speaker or as a participants. Yeah, you are what is making this community. So I really thank you for being here today. Yeah, so and another thing, yeah, thank you also for the hint about STEM is everywhere. So I believe that all of you are also familiar with that course, and you know that if you completed STEM is everywhere, and if you also successfully complete one of the STEAMED courses, you have opportunity to apply for Scientix Ambassador, and also you can receive a super badge. So thanks for that reminder, Michael, as well. I think that, yeah, we are now ready to proceed with our last speaker for today. Anna?
Hi.
All right, Anna is ready, so then please go ahead with your presentation.
Hello, can you see my presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, hello everyone. I'm Anna. I'm a math and science teacher, a Scientix ambassador and teacher trainer from Portugal. For this project, STEMit, I created with my colleagues a new learning scenario called "A Drop of Water Makes a Difference," who talks about the world problem, water scarcity. Can you actually see the images?
Actually, no. It appears as we are unable to see. Maybe earlier on you had a PDF version ready.
Oh, okay.
So maybe we can switch to that. We are sorry for the inconvenience, but I think that the presentation should be back shortly.
Okay. Just a minute.
No worries. I'll take your time to put back the presentation, and I will just then like to go back to chat and point out that I believe Antonia asked for the Greta learning scenario that Gabriela shared, so I've shared the link to Scientix repository so you can go there directly and download the learning scenario if you don't want to wait until tomorrow until we share the slides. So I've shared the link directly to the learning scenario. Okay.
Okay.
I believe Anna is ready, so
Yes.
I'll let you do it.
I think so. So this is me again. I was saying that I built with some of my colleagues at school a new project for the STEMIT project called "The Drop of Water Makes a Difference." And the main idea about it was the world problem, water scarcity. So we asked the students what they knew about water, if water is a problem for the real world at the moment, and how can we help to prevent the scarcity of water in the world. We started the learning scenario by asking the students to find some information online about this problem. I'm going to show you some of the links or websites that we used for it. For example, this one, which is a quite easy one and very interesting to do, water footprint calculator. You can try it online. You have the link there. We also asked them to find information about the water cycle. There's one here in English. You can find lots of information online about water cycle in your language if your students are not that used with English language. Then we use the Aquapath website as well. All of these were in English, and because the students weren't that used to talking English about this kind of problems, we had the help from the English teachers that translated the main ideas for them. We also wanted them to see what astronauts can do in space with water and how they recycle water in space. This is a video on YouTube where you can find the solution they invented to have drinking water in space. And because we are in Portugal, we used local platform with lots of resources for teachers and schools and students that we use in almost every school around the country, where all the materials are in Portuguese, so the students didn't have any problem with the language. Here they can find all sorts of materials linked to every single subject, especially in science. They have lots of videos and online applications they can use in the classroom or at home, and you can have the link there as well. One of the activities that we asked our students in this learning scenario was to create or build a music water instrument, and to differentiate every cup of water with different water levels. We asked them to mix colors using what they've learned in art lessons. And to see what color they came up with by mixing orange, yellow and red, for example, and they got orange. To illustrate that, we show them this application you can find online as well. And because we were at home and not at school because of the COVID-19 crisis, we actually had to deliver at the students' home all the materials that they were going to need for the lesson. So we had to deliver a bottle of dirty water for them to build a filtration device, water filtration device. We delivered the sand, rocks, glasses, the instructions to build a water filtration device as well, the ink to color the water, and the students and the teachers, we were all at home. So our learning scenario was implemented online. The students were asked to watch those videos I've shown before, and they were asked questions, and they used Padlet and Mentimeter to answer those questions. This one here is about where do you consume more water? And mainly the students answer during the bath, or cooking, or cleaning my teeth, or washing my hands. So these are the type of answers they gave us on that Mentimeter. We also, so here is the illustration about the water music device they built, and a sheet of work where they showed the mix of colors between using two different colors. What can we get if we mix yellow and blue, for example? You get green. All of this was done online, and here I can show you some of the learning products that we got from them. Here on the left, you have a picture of a water filtration device built by one of the students using the materials that we delivered at home for them, and a graph about the activities where they think they use more water at school and at home as well. At the end of the learning scenario, we asked them what part of the learning scenario they could relate to a possible future career for them. So we could find some different career paths that we work with our students. Here you have sound engineer, by assisting in synchronizing video or audio tracks, recording, edit, and mixing audio tracks, testing and improving sound quality. When they had to play the water music device, they had to do that. Another career path, mechanical and civil engineer, that was worked in the natural science lesson, assessing project requirements, measuring the performance of mechanical components, devices and engines, testing, evaluating, modifying and retesting products. All of these they had to do when they were building the water filtration device, as well as architects preparing and presenting design proposals, because they were allowed to present different solutions for the water filtration device. And also product design, video game designer, and robotics engineers. All of these career paths have a link to our learning scenario, and we try to explain to our students how can they follow this career path in the future, and why, and what do they have to study more deeply to get there, and to see that that's not completely impossible for them only because it's linked to science. All the students worked in groups of 4 or 5 students at a time. Because we were online, every group had a main student was responsible to send a message to the class online with the teachers. The learning products that they were able to build will be presented at school this school year, because we thankfully are still going to school. Some of the classes sometimes spend a couple of weeks at home in lockdown, but then they go back to school, so they are able to present to the community, to the teachers, and to the whole school their learning products they built last year. We think in the end that students actually enjoyed participating in this learning scenario, but we want to make a little bit of change in this learning scenario in the future, because we think we can improve it if we ask local authorities and local research institutes to come to school and talk to the students and tell them what's happening in the lab, in the physics lab, on the chemistry lab, on the biology lab, in the institutes in town where our school is. And I think that message it's really important for students to get to know real people that work as a scientist in the real world, in their town and near their school. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Anna. This was very interesting, as a lot of our participants pointed out during your presentation, a lot of interesting information and very good ideas for incorporating careers, which are a really big part of the STEAMET framework, as well as the STEAMET learning scenario. So thank you for that. It's also good to mention that Anna is one of our pilot teachers in STEAMET project, so that's why you can see that her learning scenario has all the necessary components and sections, and I think Anna will be happy also to help any of you to make best possible STEAMET learning scenario. Anna, well, have you there? We had a question about, I believe the question was about the why humans need water, actually about the dirty water activity. So the question for you is, what did you use there as an inquiry question? What was the inquiry question for that learning scenario?
It was, how can you work with if you have dirty water and you need to drink water, if you're out of space and you don't have a river or you don't have a fountain near you? How can we use used water that's not clean without any of these natural resources that we on Earth have at the moment? So we first showed them that video about the astronauts in space. That's why we wanted them as well to watch them and to see, okay, you have a bottle of dirty water here, but you're really thirsty and you really need to drink it. So what are you going to do? You can't go outside to the supermarket and buy another bottle. You're stuck in the classroom, or you're stuck at your home because you can't go out because of the crisis, the COVID-19 crisis. So what are you going to do? And we show them, okay, if you have this and that material, if you have sand, if you have a bottle, if you have a rocks, you can actually filter your water and make it reusable again. So it's just one example for them to see how to reuse water, but I think it worked. It gave them more ideas about how to reuse water in this case.
Excellent. Let's see. I don't think we have any other questions. We still have a couple of minutes left, so please, if you have questions for our speakers today, please feel free to post them in the chat. While we wait to see if we have any other questions, I would just like to remind again everyone that we are in our final module already, so I believe a lot of you already prepared your learning scenarios, and you maybe even shared them already in the peer assessment activity. So a reminder that the peer assessment activity already started, and it's open until December 2nd, until 23:59 Central European Time. So make sure that you work together with your teams to prepare your integrated STEM lesson. I believe we have another question from Antonia. So the question is for all four presenters. She says that I cannot see clear written objectives and not to follow the planning of inquiry-based projects, even though the four that have presented as STEM nice scenarios. I think, yeah, maybe there is a quick typing there. I believe that, our presenters today presented parts of their learning scenario, presented some of the activities that they are planning to incorporate or have already incorporated in their learning scenario. Of course, the time doesn't allow us to go more into depth of each of the learning scenario. We just wanted to share some ideas and some best practices. I don't know if any of the speakers today want to chime in and add something to this. No, they're being shy. Maybe Anthony, if you can elaborate a bit more your questions. I'm not sure I understand what you wanted to write there. Maybe while Antonia gets back to us, I would like to also announce that we will have our second TeachMeet for secondary school teachers tomorrow. I know that most of you are primary school teachers, but you might still find useful to hear from your colleagues from secondary schools. Maybe you will find some interesting resources there that you can also use in your classrooms with your teachers. So if you have time, please feel free to join the session tomorrow, again at 5 o'clock in the afternoon in Central European Time. We've shared the link to I can share the link actually here in the chat if you're interested, or you can find the link in the secondary course that is available also on European Schoolnet Academy. Let's see. Okay, so Antonia, thanks Jana for your answer. I think she got her answer there. All right. I'll also share with you Michael's YouTube channel and Virtual Science Cup. It seems like a lot of you are interested, so you don't have to wait till tomorrow until we share the slides. I already included the links in the chat. And Michael, someone responded that, yeah, the reason why they didn't type any questions, they were busy subscribing to your YouTube channel.
Oh, that's great to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we hope that, yeah, you will see more teachers joining your YouTube channel and virtual camp.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Well, I believe there are no more questions for our speakers today. So I would like to thank all of you for joining us today. Thank you very much to our speakers for great presentation great ideas, great resources shared. I think you've really given a lot of thought to our participants, and I'm sure that they are going to leave this TeachMeet inspired to work on their learning scenarios. Thank you very much for your time and your presentations. Thank you very much to my colleagues, Evita and Eleni, who are, as always, behind the scenes making all this happen. And thank all of you who join us today. In case you want to rewatch the TeachMeet or go more into depth with the slides shared today, make sure to check live section event tomorrow for more information on that. Thank you very much again, and have a pleasant evening.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, and thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Have a nice evening.